Folks, am I in favor of the seller or in favor of the buyer? I'll tell you and then get into the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending October 18, 2023. You know, I'll often, especially lately, be accused of being anti-seller and being more pro-buyer. Well, let me tell you, I have no favorites. I am not leaning one way versus the other. But on this channel, I do share problem areas. I do share nuggets of information based on my vast experience as a realtor, areas where I find problem areas that I feel if I share them, maybe it's going to help some people out there. So I'm not one way or the other. If the market is headed up, I'm going to tell you. If it's heading down, I'm going to tell you. And that's just the way I see it and the way I believe I express my opinions out here. Sellers, for example. Last week I was talking about there's this one pocket, they're all $2 million houses, and there's 17 or 18 properties just sitting there. Nobody's moving. And I complained about that. That doesn't mean I'm anti-seller. What I am is pro getting the job done. So if a new seller invited me that lives in that pocket where there's 17 other properties at $2 million or more listed and nobody's moving, and if a seller invites me there and says, I'm thinking of selling and I'm looking at the house and I'm looking at all these other properties, and if the house I'm looking at is similar, I'm going to say, well, $2 million isn't working. We need to be somewhere less. So I'm pro telling the truth. I'm pro setting proper expectations. And I know there's agents out there that have the opposite approach. They're pro telling the seller what they want to hear just to get him to sign on the line, and then they beat them up for price reductions later. That's not the way I do it. That's not the way a lot of agents do it, but there's agents that'll do it the other way that causes conflict all across the board. I am pro when it comes to the buyers talking about their expectations ahead of time. We've got their budget. We know the kind of house that they're looking for. They got to match. If they don't, before we get started, I'm going to say to buy the house you want to buy, your budget needs to increase. Or, hey, at your budget, you need to drop your expectations for the kind of house you want to buy. Before we get started, we all need to be on the same page. So I'm pro getting the job done. I'm pro changing strategy depending on the market, what the market is doing. I'm pro saying it the way it is. And sometimes I'm against the seller. Sometimes I'm against the buyer on this channel. But in the field, in reality, in my day-to-day dealings as a realtor, I am very much always pro my client to get their goal accomplished. If you feel this video helps somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the York Region numbers. Folks, we're not seeing many sold signs, and the buyer pool is shrinking. Sellers, you might have to rethink your strategy. Let's have a look. Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. Average sold prices for detached properties. Vaughan's at the bottom, Richmond Hill's at the top. There's about a $130,000 difference between Vaughan's price and Richmond Hill's price. We're going to start off with Vaughan. Detached properties broken down by week for a whole year. For week ending October 18, 2023, 16 detached properties were sold. Remember that number because we're going to come back to it. 16, that's it. In all of Vaughan, 16 detached properties were sold. 4 of those were at $2 million or more. Average price up a bit from what it was a week ago to $1,662,000. So I drew a line, $1,662,000. And when I look at the whole year, going back to January, there has been 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll include this one here, 5 weeks lower than $1,662,000. Now it's just something to think about, because prices do go up and down quite a bit when sales are this slow, but just something that kind of makes you go, that's interesting. To me anyways, maybe it's interesting to you as well. Compared to last year, 1,662, 15% higher than where the price was a year ago, and we could see that it just dropped last year for that week. The median price is 11% higher than what it was a year ago. Of the 16 that sold, close to half, 44%, sold at list price or more. And listings, 85 detached properties were sold, and that's up from what it's been over the last couple of weeks. But overall, since just past Labor Day, the beginning of September, 85 is about the norm. So listings have not shot up or shot down, and they're just kind of average. 85 listed for week ending October 18th. Active listings, which is the amount of properties available for sale, has been gradually trending upwards. It's now sitting at 411. So if you drive around Vaughan, you will see 411 for sale signs in front of detached properties, 411. So if you drive around, most likely you'll see 2 or 3 or 4, depending on where you're driving, but across all Vaughan, 411. But only 16 of those sold. That means 3.9% of all the active listings sold. So 3.9% will have a sold sign. It'll be really easy to see a for sale sign, not so easy to find a sold sign these days when it's 3.9% of all the for sale signs. That's kind of what I'm getting at there. Sales are really, really low. Sellers, maybe rethink your strategy. Otherwise, you're trying to be one of those 3.9% out of all the solds that sell. Not so easy. Months of inventory sitting at 5.9. That's been climbing. Here's Richmond Hill. 18 detached properties were sold, which is, excuse me, higher than what it's been for a bunch of weeks since we came out of Labor Day. And 6 of the 18 were at $2 million or more. So 1/3 of the sales were at $2 million or more. Average sold price sitting at $1,795,000. And if we do the same exercise we did to Vaughan, there's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm not going to count this because it's like first week of January. So there's only been 3 other weeks this whole year where the average sold price is lower than where we are now at $1,795,000. 1,795 is 14% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 12% lower. You could see average price dropping. I'm looking at the dotted line here, the 4-week moving average. Of the 18 that sold, half of them, 50%, sold at list price or more, and 69 were listed. So we've got Labor Day over here, 69, kind of in line to where we've been several weeks. It's not that big of a difference. Active listings, look, it's higher than where we were 3 months ago, but since Labor Day, kind of hasn't moved that much. It's been kind of flat. And months of inventory sitting at 3.8, which is pretty much a balanced market. Here's Markham. 25 detached properties were sold. The previous week we sold 25, and there's only one other week, which since August, one other week where we sold more, and it was 28. So 25, although it's kind of in line, it's at the upper end of being in line where sales have been over the last 3 months. 25 were sold, 5 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price sitting at $1,696,000. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4 times this whole year where the average price has been that low. Compared to last year, no real difference in price. We're basically at the same average sold price rounded, same average sold price this year than we were exactly a year ago for the same week. Median price is 2% lower. Overall, it looks like prices have been trending down, but not that much. And this is over the span of the last 2 months. 25 were sold, 48% sold at list price or more. Listings has been trending down, and active listings has been trending up by not that much. Months of inventory, this is strange, I gotta say. Months of inventory has been trending down since the end of September. We're sitting at 2.8. Now, for the same period, average price has been trending down, which is kind of opposite of what normally would happen. When months of inventory is trending down, usually average price is trending up. Now, I got in trouble for this before with one of the comments. Somebody said, why do you say prices gotta go up? I'm not saying they gotta go up. I'm just telling you the relationship between months of inventory and prices. Usually, as months of inventory go down, market's getting tighter, more competitive, that tends to push prices up. We're not seeing that in this scenario, which is kind of strange. Here's condos for all of York Region. 37 condos were sold. When we look at that, 37 is kind of in line. I'm going all the way back to the beginning of July. Look, 37 in 1 week seems kind of normal right now. It's by no means, high or low. It's kind of average. 37 were sold. 3 of those were at $1 million or more. Average sold price sitting at $737,000, which is one of our higher weeks. Not the highest, but 737 is kind of one of the higher weeks that we had. It's higher than what we were at the beginning of the year for condo prices in York Region. Compared to last year, it's 2% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is the same, no percentage change in median price. Of the 37 that sold, almost a third, 32% sold at list price or more. Listings have been coming down. Active listings have been going up. And months of inventory came down from the previous week, but sitting at 4.3, basically right in the middle of what we would consider a balanced market, which is between 3 months and 5 months of inventory. Quick summary here. Except for Vaughan, where months of inventory went up over the previous week, Richmond Hill, Markham, and condos got a little bit tighter. Months of inventory came down, so the market's a little bit tighter, but it's just 1 week. We keep looking for the overall trends to figure out what should we do next, or to understand the market. Pretty much sitting in a balanced market, but you're going to find pockets. Pretty much sitting in a balanced market, you're going to find pockets of the market, depending on which neighborhood, being more of a buyer's market. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.